Hello, my name is Sonali and I welcome you all to this week's Sunday special episode of Around the World in 7 Days. In 2022, India assumed the presidency of the G20 from Indonesia for a one-year term. During this period, India organized numerous meetings related to the G20. But among all these, the 18th G20 summit held in Delhi was significant. It marked India's inaugural experience in hosting such a large-scale international gathering, where world leaders convened in the capital city Delhi. The summit witnessed the presence of prominent figures like US President Joe Biden, French President Emmanuel Macron, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and International Monetary Fund President Kristalina Georgieva. Under their hosting, the Indian government immersed Delhi's capital in dazzling lights. In fact, India did not want to leave any stone unturned in organizing the G20 under its presidency. But the question is, what did India achieve from such a big event? What benefit did India get from this? Will this have any impact on India's image? We will know the answers to all such questions through this episode. India, an ambitious and peace-loving nation, sought to showcase its strength to the world through the G20 summit. To some extent, India was successful in achieving this objective. The G20 summit under the Indian chairmanship managed to create many positive headlines for India globally. Besides, it also proved to be a milestone in India's diplomacy. Amidst global concerns, India was successful in bringing member countries to one platform under its chairmanship. In fact, there was a lot of speculation by international experts on the issue of the Russia-Ukraine war. The Russia-Ukraine issue dominated the 17th G20 summit held in Indonesia last year. Because of this, no neutral consensus could be reached at the conference. Some experts were assuming the same in the case of India. Contrary to speculations, India's diplomacy prevailed, and after extensive negotiations, consensus was achieved with the adoption of the Delhi Declaration, a significant achievement given the current global landscape. Notably, despite historical differences, the agreement between India and the United States, along with India's decision not to include Russia's name in the Delhi Declaration, underscores India's diplomatic prowess. Moreover, this conference marked a significant milestone for India, as it solidified its leadership role within the Global South. In fact, under the chairmanship of India, the G20 welcomed the African Union as a permanent member. The inclusion of this group of 55 countries was seen as strengthening the voice of the Global South on the global stage. The term Global South is used to describe countries in the Southern Hemisphere, often referred to as developing, least developed, or underdeveloped countries. These countries are mainly present in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. India's name comes to the fore as the leader of this Global South. India consistently advocates for its interest on the international stage. While China also asserts itself as a leader of the Global South, India's position was reinforced by the African Union's inclusion in the G20. It is believed that these countries are very important in terms of voting on global issues as they vote as a whole bloc. In such a situation, this collective strength could potentially be harnessed to support India's bid for permanent membership in the United Nations Security Council. Besides, this can also enhance India's influence on various other global issues. This also sent a message to the world that India has now become strong at such a level that it can host any major international event or conference. Also, India's neutral approach during the entire presidency of G20 and convincing all the countries to agree to the things written in the Delhi Declaration shows that India has its own neutral policy which works without any pressure. In this way, the successful hosting of G20 has sent a strong message to the world that now, more than ever, India can lead from the front, and India is no longer indifferent in the matter of leadership. This has increased India's positive image in the world to a great extent. Consequently, India can now assert that existing global institutions do not represent the emerging world order, as India has often advocated in the past. The G20 presidency marked a pivotal moment in India's history. Since independence, India has been associated with multilateral institutions and has contributed to addressing contemporary global challenges. However, through the G20 presidency, India has made an important contribution in making international negotiation processes fair and sustainable in the changing global environment. In contrast to some global powers, India has shown a balanced and neutral policy without causing friction with Russia and China by reaching out to the countries of Europe and America. However, India faces a significant challenge from China, which has led India to intensify its relations with Western nations. India understands that at a time when China's rise is shaping global strategic priorities, India's stronger engagement with the West is a policy imperative. The West, in turn, sees India as a crucial partner in maintaining balance amidst China's rise. This is the reason that despite India's neutral stance on the Russia-Ukraine war, India's relations with the West have strengthened, due to which India succeeded in getting it in its favor during the G20. Now it is the turn of this program's Sunday special segment, in which we will delve into other significant international news. Recently, troubles for war-torn country Ukraine increased when its strongest allies and neighbor Poland announced that it would no longer supply arms to Ukraine. Poland's decision stemmed from a grain dispute as its primary justification. In fact, due to Russia's occupation of the Black Sea, Ukraine had to seek an alternative land route for grain transportation. As a result, large quantities of grain reached Central Europe. In view of this, the European Union temporarily banned the import of grains in 5 countries, namely Bulgaria, Hungary, Poland, Romania, and Slovakia. This move aimed to safeguard local farmers' interests and was in effect until September 15. But Hungary, Slovakia, and Poland continued to refrain from importing grain even after the ban was lifted. A lawsuit was also filed by Ukraine in the World Trade Organization regarding this. On the other hand, Ukraine made a statement against Poland in the United Nations. These actions have led to ongoing tensions between the two countries. On the other hand, Brazilian President Lula da Silva held bilateral talks with Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky. During this, Brazil expressed its support for efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine war peacefully. Let us tell you that Ukraine proposed this discussion when it could not take place during the G7 meeting. Earlier, Brazil had also advocated forming a coalition of nations for mediating conflicts. However, the subsequent indictment of both Russia and Ukraine caused friction with the United States and European states. Consequently, this effort remained in limbo. Before the world could come out of the Russia-Ukraine war, Azerbaijan declared war against Armenia. The root of this conflict lies in the South Caucasus enclave, which is internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan and is home to approximately 120,000 ethnic Armenians. Azerbaijan wants to assert complete control over this region, which led to the onset of this war. However, this confrontation is not a new development in the long-standing tension between these two nations dating back to 1991. When both Armenia and Azerbaijan came into existence as independent countries after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, both the countries laid claim to the Nagorno-Karabakh region. The ethnic people of Nagorno-Karabakh expressed their desire to join Armenia because a substantial Armenian population resides there. But Azerbaijan did not accept this, leading to an ongoing dispute that persists to this day. So that's all in today's episode. See you in the next episode. But before that, let's note down a question based on today's story. The presidency of the G20 group has increased India's influence at the global level. Evaluate.